Another one from Wellington Street.
The 7th in a week. All of Yellow Jack and all off the same ship.
What ship was that?
A Chilean packet, the Samantha. And God curse whoever brought her into this port.
The fact of the matter is, 7 people have died and there's danger of fever spreading along Wellington Street. And in every case, there's a connection with men paid off to Samantha.
Well, Samantha's discharged and turned round.
But with our help, James.
Yes. She closed and opened articles under her own master.
With our help again, Cousin John here and myself.
That's right. As you well know, Albert bade me facilitate her discharge. As customs officer, I gave her a clean bill of health. And now she's brought fever here. Of 8 crew members discharged, 7 are dead.
The 8th man's aboard the Charlotte Roads bound for South America.
You say you boarded the Samantha at sea?
Ah, yeah. Owners required a fetch and carry job. Crew had deserted or died.
Of fever?
Well, she was a Chilean ship from the Fever Coast. And those ships is always a risk.
But did you know there had been fever aboard?
Yes. We both knew.
She'd been a long time in passage. I thought it had blown itself out.
There. Incriminated.
How so incriminated? Fever is always a risk with foreign commerce. My interest was in the gain, and I was right. A cargo of guano paid our owners and ourselves off handsomely.
Oh, yes. But I granted her a clean bill of health.
Well, did you see any fever aboard her?
No.
Well, did our master or owner declare any fever?
No.
Well, then you had no reason not to give her a clean bill of health, or I for shipping a crew aboard her. Now, there's an end to it. For all our sakes.
Our sakes? There are men dead. We should declare our involvement.
Declare it? For what purpose?
A mistake should be reported.
Look, the nub of the matter is that at all times the Samantha was the responsibility of our master.
You hadn't a leg beneath him for half the voyage. You told me that.
Our owner would better have hired a more reliable master.
James, the truth must out.
Yes, of course it must. I cannot understand your diffidence.
You must please yourselves. My advice is nothing said, and for good reason.
Your own skin?
Not so.
Then what? James, I will have an answer.
In view of these deaths, there's to be an inquiry into the Samantha's arrival, spread of the disease into Wellington Street. I suspect the public water supply is contaminated.
Well, in that case, we should state our part in the affair exactly.
I think not. It's no good business to be associated with disaster, however slight the connection. I'm more concerned on your behalf, you know.
If you're considering the good name of the Fraser shipbuilding yards, I am, after all, merely an employee.
Aye, but your father is owner. This inquiry, it's rumoured that he is to be chairman.
My father becomes involved. He'll stop at nothing till he gets to the bottom of it.
Fly. I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Fly is the word for that man. I knew it the moment I first set eyes on him. And heartless with it. What did he say to you when at last he stepped ashore? Well, what did he say in his brother's shop?
Sarah arranged that meeting between James and I. She tried to mend the situation. She meant well, but she served only to strengthen the rift between us.
How long is it now that you've parted?
It's a month.
You... Logic and common sense went out of the window the moment that man appeared. You've let yourself sink down to the most dreadful circumstances. And me with you. That was my ship once, the Charlotte Roads, till he came along. Have you forgot that? And where is she now? Does anybody know?
She sailed with Captain Baines in command as soon as the Samantha docked. That reminds me, Captain Baines gave me some advance notes for his sister Alice. I still have to cash them.
Did he mention he'd be away on a long voyage?
I don't understand.
Well, with Yellow Jack, there's always quarantine laws. A great immobility of ships. James got her away so fast, I wouldn't be surprised if he hadn't an inkling of what lay in store for the crew that came off the Samantha.
No, James couldn't have been aware there was fever aboard. If he had done, he'd have made it known.
What if it prevented the Charlotte Road sailing for profit?
James is concerned for himself and for profit, but he'd never do anything criminal.
You never come aboard the Samantha, but I did. And I know it happened.
A captain drowned members of his crew?
Before they died of the fever.
I've known some hard captains in my time. Regular built down east Johnny cakes, but I can hardly believe that.
It was the captains with a fancy who made him do it. She was frightened to hell of catching the fever, losing her looks. Hangman's nose she deserves.
Who told you?
The cook. He helped the captain do it. They weighted the poor devils with anchor shackles.
Did Mr. Onedin know that?
I don't know. He had only one word for that trip. Mouth shut.
Drowning sick men. Mr. Onedin couldn't have known.
Madam wasn't taken with the French sailor ship?
Definitely not.
It's coming back.
Then it can go out again.
I see. Mr. Fraser is in public life again.
My husband?
No, his father, madam. He used to chair the inquiry into this ship everyone's talking about.
Where did you hear that?
They made the announcement at the town hall. I can't interest madam in the latest Spanish Carmen tow.
No. Can you finish now, please?
Of course.
Are you quite sure Mr. Fraser is to chair the inquiry?
It was announced this morning.
Excuse me, I have James with me.
You'd better stay.
Well, not while Miriam is here. She might tell you something else.
You had better stay.
I see the tenor of your feelings is not even disguised before servants now.
I don't ignore you entirely. I thought you should know that your father is to head the inquiry into this outbreak of fever.
So it's true.
I suppose it's to satisfy the public disquiet.
Oh, excuse me.
You were right, James. My father is to chair the inquiry.
Then the less said, the better.
A law of silence, James?
Discretion.
In whose interest?
Those whom discretion will benefit most.
And your own interest? What nobility of purpose do you hide your light behind now?
Commerce and good sense. And in your interests, Elizabeth, you'd best concern yourself in women's matters. I trust your father will turn out to be more than just a fair weather friend.
You must hope so, James.
Go right up to the mizzen peak halyard, and if there's any chaffing, sing out.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Don't forget, check the sheaths now. Have you ever been to South America, sir?
I never been past Falmouth, sir.
Foul weather gear we'll need there. Foul weather gear for a foul weather place. And all for a shipload of bird droppings.
Guano. According to Mr. Onedin, it's all clear profit.
It is. And all we have to do is to shovel it up. Keep her full and by.
Aye, aye, sir.
No, you always repeat. When I says full and by, you comes back, full and by it is, sir.
Full and by it is, sir.
That's the hammer. Now, eye on the wind, we don't want her in irons. The halyard look all right to you.
All secure, Captain.
Are you sure?
Aye, aye, sir.
We put that in the record.
Gentlemen, I think we might now proceed with the regulations governing the entry of vessels from foreign ports. Mr. Collector of Customs?
Yes, sir.
Oh, please sit down, Mr. Rice. Mr. Rice, am I to take it there is no trace of the owners of the Samantha?
None whatsoever, sir.
Then did she have any dealings with any Liverpool merchants?
That'll be her cargo, sir.
Oh, yes. Guano.
Yes, sir. It was dispersed in the usual way. Very much in demand. I believe it was already spoke for.
What I can't understand, Mr. Rice, is there's nobody here to represent her owners. No agent, no brokers, not a soul.
She was a foreign ship. She was a foreign ship, sir, and sailed immediately upon discharge.
So it seems. Well, now, perhaps we should address ourselves to the manner of her docking. Perhaps you would advise me as to the appropriate regulation.
Article 28, sir. The master of every ship infected with cholera, yellow fever, or plague shall cause to be hoisted between sunrise and sunset a day signal consisting of a large flag of yellow and black quartering, and during the hours of darkness a triangle of red and white lanterns.
And was the Samantha flying a flag of that description?
Not as far as I know, sir.
I see. Well, now, perhaps you would give me the titles of all persons boarding the Samantha in order.
There'd be the pilot, sir.
Is the pilot here? Thank you. Sit down. After the pilot?
Then the harbour pilot, sir. Then the customs officer.
Your department, Mr. Rice.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps you should advise me as to what steps are taken to ascertain that a vessel is free from infection.
There is the pratique, sir. Clean bill of health.
And upon whose say-so is the pratique granted?
Generally upon the master's say-so, sir.
Indeed. Correct me if I'm wrong, a mere layman, but since the Samantha entered this port, there have been 7 deaths. 7?
7 is correct, yes.
From yellow fever. And if, as you say, she was boarded in the proper fashion, am I not right in assuming that there must have been great irregularity and lack of the usual precautions on the part of all the persons boarding?
It remains to be seen, sir.
It does indeed. I take it you did not board this vessel yourself, Mr. Rice?
No, sir.
Then before we address ourselves to the pilotage, perhaps you'd be good enough to bring before me the customs officer who granted the pratique.
I'm afraid I can't, sir.
Can't, Mr. Rice?
No, sir. It was my junior, and he is himself sick.
Of yellow fever?
Of colic. I have a certificate to that effect.
Yes, colic.
Excuse me, sir, but it's your nephew, young John Fraser.
I think perhaps we should adjourn for a moment while I take advice on what's best to be done. Perhaps you would give us your assistance, Mr. Rice.
Yes, sir.
You were looking to get the Charlotte roads out before the fever broke?
Judgment, Fogarty. Essential in shipping matters.
I hear you were aboard the Samantha when she docked.
Then you hear wrong. Let me commend you 2 things, Fogarty. Judgment and accurate information, both essential in running your own business.
Killed me a couple of them. Killed you? I could kill all you. I told you to look at that halyard. Go on, jump to it. Now if you've got serve my honor, let go of the throat halyards. Bring the cameras down. Belay that rope!
Captain, sir!
Drop the mainsail!
I'm sorry, sir. You don't have to ask what it is. Yellow fever. The Samantha was rotten with it, sir. And murdered on that ship as well.
Don't touch him, son. Go below and get me the plague flag. When we float off, this is one ship that'll go home with regulations nailed to the mast.
Captain Fogarty, sir.
Oh, yes, Fogarty. You're representing the mercantile interests.
I was so elected, sir, since you asked for an independent assessor.
Sit down.
Well, it would appear that there has been some breach of the quarantine laws.
Clearly.
I doubt whether anyone will be in a hurry to own up to such a disaster.
I can understand that. I, for one, be happier if my nephew were not involved.
Well, it may be that there are more people involved than at first seems apparent.
You're very cagey, Fogarty. How so, man? A plaguey guano boat with neither sight nor sound of her owners?
Well, it was...
The outdoor officer, sir. Oh, I'm obliged to you, Mr. Rice. Thank you. Come along, John. Be seated. This is Captain Fogarty, who's assisting me. I see no reason why we can't be brief. Sit down. John, I'm told you granted the Samantha a clean bill of health. Signed the pratique. Is that true?
It is, sir.
Upon what examination?
Upon the master's say-so, sir.
The master of the Samantha declared no fever.
I asked him that question, and the answer was in the negative.
No fever aboard?
None, sir. By his declaration.
And you had no reason to disbelieve him then?
No, sir.
What are papers in order?
It seemed so, sir.
Well, were you satisfied?
She had consul signatures from ports of loading and departure, including rat certificates. They seemed in order. Then I was concerned with the bond. It was heavily depleted, but there was no evasion.
In fact, you had no reason to believe in anything untoward.
No, sir. But clearly I was wrong.
Oh, a frank admission, anyway. Have you anything to add, Captain Fogarty?
Well, the pratique is generally granted upon the master's say-so. Unless anything specific is declared, it's not practice to examine the crew.
You had no suspicion of fever whatsoever. Not a thought in your mind that you might be hoodwinked.
I had no suspicion of fever whatsoever. But I put the routine question, and the answer was no fever aboard.
Have you anything you wish to say you think might help us?
No, sir. Except to say...
Yes?
Except to say I'm deeply grieved at what's happened, sir.
Oh, very well. You can go. We'll call you. Colic. Did you notice his hand shaking, Fogarty?
I did, sir.
Grief or guilt? Come on, you've been a shipmaster.
I'm afraid that's for you to decide, sir.
I know young John very well. I smell a rat, Fogarty. Perhaps more than one.
What puzzles me is the crew.
The crew?
The Samantha's crew. Now, she was a Chilean vessel, but those men who died were mainly Liverpool men. Oh, I knew some of them. A boarding house package if ever I saw one. But they made no voyage from South America.
How can you say that? They signed off the Samantha.
Well, a week before the Samantha arrived, those men were seen around the Liverpool docks.
They were not her original crew?
Couldn't have been. Must have been shipped out to her in passage.
Shipped out? For what reason? What happened to her own crew?
Well, in view of the present conditions, it could be that her own crew died of yellow fever.
But who shipped the crew out to her?
My brother sent no word. No, Captain Baines was in a hurry to get to sea, just asked me to give you the money.
Did he not say where the Charlotte Rhodes was sailing?
No, he did not.
We learnt this morning that cesspit is to be blown up and the water supply diverted. All the houses will have to be emptied. There's a danger that we'll have to move.
Move?
The sewer here is too close and this corner of the court is too old. They've been looking for an excuse to bring it down.
Does that mean that you'll lose the house?
There's a danger of it. The medical authorities have agreed on the danger, but not on what's going to happen to us. If people here could get their hands on the master of the Samantha, there would be murder done in Wellington Street.
Do you think
What?
whoever brought that ship in knew that there was fever aboard?
Whoever brought her in was thinking of her cargo and not her seamen. The guano was discharged as quickly as if it were gold, and the ship put out again as fast as they could manage. As though they daren't wait to see what they'd left behind.
And they must have known.
Someone here in Liverpool took the crew out to her. Must have done. It's Liverpool seamen lying limed and tarred in paupers' graves. They might just as well have been stabbed, for there's not one alive to tell the tale, not one.
Take her up dead into the eye of the wind. Pay out all you got and let the anchor go. When you get back, we'll catch her off. Where you go? We're praying to God the tide will rise before the wind threatens. Aye, aye, sir.
We'll soon have her off. About Captain Onedin, I think he knew there'd been fever aboard the Samantha. But he risked going aboard himself. So he must have thought the fever had blown itself out.
It's not just the fever. It's the drowning of fevered sailors.
I don't think he knew about them.
We'll soon find out what he knew and what he didn't know.
Captain, sir.
Yes?
If I don't get home, you won't put me over the side alive, will you? While I'm still living.
No, son. Not me. Taking the slack on the windlass. Come round to the quarter! Did you know they were going to skip?
No, sir, but I heard them muttering. They wouldn't go forward, sir. Yellow Jack.
I'll get you home safe if I have to kid you from here to the Mersey. Never whistle in a ship, son.
But I...
Never! They got too much bearing down upon us as it is. Come on.
Then you will admit nothing.
No, not be treated like some trembling apprentice brought before its master.
James, 7 men are dead.
Look, I've been at sea since I was 14 years old. Ship's logs are full of such tragedies.
You ferried sailors out to the Samantha at the owner's request. But did you know that there was fever aboard?
She was a Chilean ship.
Is that an answer?
Well, can I be responsible for every filth-like port in the world?
No, but Liverpool men are dead and you are evading something. Whatever it may be, why don't you come forward?
It's not just myself, it's Fraser. Albert Fraser. I involved him in a share of the Samantha's profits. Now that his father is to be chairman of this inquiry, we've no other course but to remain silent.
Oh, James, I fear for you. If it's not one evasion, then it's another.
Evasion?
You cannot give a straight answer. And your concern for other people is so small that it amounts to a kind of heartlessness. And it disgusts me.
Oh, does it indeed?
I thought that if I was to separate from you, it would bring you to some understanding of me, of values even, of some concern other than your pocket. But it's not done so. You go from one purpose to the next, not caring what happens to other people, not those whom you employ, not even your wife. You're selfish, ruthless, and you have no cares in the world that cannot be measured on a balance sheet.
See, your tongue has sharpened in my absence.
But nothing has happened to your conscience.
I gave you your choice.
To deny my principles or to leave your house.
Aye, and you chose to leave.
And I said I would not come back unless you asked me. And I meant it, James.
I'm surprised at your impertinence at calling here unannounced. You must want something. And how is your fiancé?
Well, your brother James was very fortunate to get the Charlotte roads out before the fever broke. He was smart to get a cargo. What was it?
You'll not pick my brains on that score, Daniel Fogarty.
Come now, Elizabeth. You would not send a ship halfway across the world on a speculation.
If it pleased me, I would.
On a whim.
If the whim was strong enough.
And well paid enough.
Oh, no. I've more taste than James, and not in the least interested in tying up to tree stumps in fever ports.
The Fever Coast. So the Charlotte Roads has gone for guano. Where did James find out about the source of the guano?
How should I know that?
Well, if he's after guano, he must have got the source from the master of the Samantha, and to do that, he must have been on board. Sailors out, fever home, and a quick profit from the same port.
You'd better be careful in your conclusions.
Why is that?
In all your dealings with me, you've had my feelings to contend with. Unfortunately, James is free of any concern for you.
Well, hardly. I understand we're to be dining soon.
Dining?
Yes, at your father-in-law's. You see, I'm appointed Mr. Fraser's independent assessor, assigned to the deaths of Liverpool seamen.
Would you like me to say a few words, like? I don't know if I can remember. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Yellow fever. I can't understand what all the hubbub's about. The Cuba sweats, we used to call them. I had many a spell myself. Nothing that a good stiff tot can't cure. Whose is that rag?
It belongs to Mr. Baines's sister. Their water supply's been diverted and she's got 2 children.
Wellington Street, always fever in Wellington Street. Always was, always will be. They live like pigs down there, some of them pigs. What do you want to go down there for, I can't imagine. And I don't know what you look like.
I don't know what I feel like either.
Well, there you are, then. In my day, women knew how to keep their men dangling. You had a double bed? No. Well, I suppose it's not your fault. You're such a plain Jane. Get any sense out of him when you saw him?
No.
Well, there you are, then. But since you left him, that's the legalities against you. What's the matter?
I'm just tired.
Well, go back to him and make your peace.
No!
When will you realize that a woman can't stand on her own feet in this world? She needs a man.
I'm just tired. That's all. Tired and hot.
Well, if you will spend your days down Wellington Street...
I just don't seem to have any strength.
I've got half a guinea if you'd like to try the apothecary.
I find Daniel so masterful. And that air of the sea captain. Brass bound, I think they call it. And other times, though, I find him quite moody. He was an orphan. Orphan? From the board schools. The scrubbed boy from the cadetship. Oh, of course. You were bespoke. Well, Daniel's so reluctant to talk of the past. Oh, it was a simple change of heart on my part. I met Albert and, well, that was that. Well, your husband I find most engaging. Why was Daniel not at dinner? Errands, I dare say. Your father-in-law is merchant, politician and commodore rolled into one. But tell me more about Daniel. Did you find him unduly affectionate?
Ah, there you are, my boy. Did you have to row?
I came as quick as I could, sir.
You've missed your victuals, I'm afraid. Would you care for a glass of port?
Thank you, sir. How's the Garno trade progressing, Onedin?
All trade progresses from efficient handling.
Curious how you should come across such a distant cargo.
One has been carried before.
Indeed. On the Samantha.
On that ship and any other fortunate enough to find the train.
How did you find out about the source of the Samantha's cargo?
Seems cross-examination is in the air.
I should like an answer to that question. I've been made responsible to the people of Liverpool in this matter, and I must have an answer. How did you discover the source of the Samantha's cargo?
From the ship's pantry, man. Oh, and before you should accuse me, I've nothing to hide. The Samantha's owner approached me to ship a crew aboard her. She was in a sore plight.
A sore plight?
Aye. She'd had a bad voyage. Half her crew deserted.
Deserted?
Well, it's not unknown. She'd been in a tidal wave through terrible seas.
And what about the rest of her crew?
Died of fever.
You state that openly.
I state what I was told. Died of fever in passage. Her master brought her home to Cork.
And you took out a crew to the Samantha?
Aye, in exchange for the profits of a quarter of the cargo.
A hard bargain.
Well, her owner suggested a quarter. I wanted a third.
I want to talk about yellow fever, Onedin.
When I went on board, there was no fever.
No fever?
None. She'd been 120 days in passage. Even so, I took precautions. Had the forecastle lined and cleared. I even stayed myself, just to make sure that everything was in order.
Are you saying, do you dare to say the Samantha did not bring fever here?
Nobody can deny that. But at the time, I took every precaution I could to safeguard the crew that I put aboard her. And even that wasn't my responsibility, but the master's.
You're too glib, Onedin.
I resent that.
Why did you not step forward and state your part openly? Then, whatever odium fell upon you, you'd have had the support of the mercantile interests, who well understand the risks involved. It's your silence that's criminal, man. You're too fly by far.
Father, you're wrong. He was silent because of me.
You?
For purposes of gain, I was made partner and had a share of the Samantha's cargo.
You were partners?
There was a chance of a handsome profit. We took it and made it, James and I.
We cannot build our steamship on promises. We need cash.
But the fever. I did not thought of your good name. Two of you involved. If this came out, what reputation would the Fraser shipyards carry in this port?
Exactly, Mr. Fraser. Our Perhaps you understand my position. Perhaps now you can advise us on what course of action to take, other than remain silent.
It would not surprise me if Onedin had involved your son deliberately.
Well, of course I involved him deliberately. Would I not want to put money in my partner's pocket? If our steam interests prosper, we profit jointly. Oh, sir, I'm waiting for your reply. What do you now propose? Maybe we can dispense with your messenger boy here now.
You must suffer too, Onedin, as others have suffered in this past week. A Lloyd signal station at Land's End has just reported the Charlotte roads on her way home. 2 men deserted, and the plague flag upon her mast.
Well, lad, we've done it. Blame me if I don't think you're looking for taller.
It's stretching to look for a following Caesar.
Following sees a friend if he can keep her stern down. Oh, here comes the brass.
When did you sail, Captain?
The 24th of July, sir. We were in passage for Arica.
Since that date, there have been 7 deaths in Wellington Street.
Wellington Street?
Yes. All paid off the Samantha.
Did you say 7 deaths in Wellington Street? I got a sister living there, sir.
I'm afraid there is a woman among the sick.
There's no fever, is there? Brought in from the apothecary. They thought the pains was labour, but she's like an empty pod. Fever, then? Well, sweat's feverish. She's no yellow. Eyes is yeller. And the shivering's feverish. Best burn a clays, then. Fever's a blessing for some.
You've got my Charlotte roads poxed up to the gunnels, and your wife took ill. Ever since she's known you, there's been nothing but despair. The way you act, heartbreak follows you like a shadow. Who'll you bring to ruin next, I wonder?
I want the night clothes. Nothing else.
This once she'll take what you're given by me. I tell you, I've seen that girl go down to nothing. She's worn out with worry and shame. And don't say it's her fault. Everybody's actions aren't concerned entirely with money, you know. The purse is not everybody's god.
Just give me the bag.
Look at you. Stone. Stone. I'll tell you this. If she were to die, it would make no difference to you. You're incapable of any human feelings at all. Nothing moves you. Damn it! If you were to drink, at least it would show you were human, but you're too damn preoccupied to risk your liver for a little jollity. And what about me? Do you ask how I've got the fare to the blamed hospital?
But you're soaking.
I swam ashore.
Have they no boats?
Well, I'm in breach of quarantine. I heard there was fever.
7 dead. But mercifully, we've been spared the fever. Although the house must go.
The house?
A cesspit that served the boarding house is to be destroyed. We are joining, so the court is to be evacuated too.
You mean you're losing the house?
12 years we've been here. Done what I could for the children, and since you've been made master, it's a great help. The authorities will compensate the owners, but not the tenants. I've heard that Captain Onedin was part responsible. Now, is it rumour or is it truth?
I don't know.
Then they say this hot weather's exceptional and must have prolonged it. Where are you going?
It seems, gentlemen, that there has been neglect of the usual precautions on the part of the persons who boarded the Samantha, and her master is significantly absent. In the case of the customs authorities and the pilotage, they would appear to have acted in ignorance and not from willful intention of violating the law. Moreover, I am informed by the Privy Council that the trade of this port will not be inconvenienced, and there is no further cause for quarantine restrictions being placed on outgoing vessels. And finally, by some freak of circumstance, the climatic conditions which foster yellow fever have never been better imitated in Great Britain. These conditions have now passed. Gentlemen, I'm happy to inform you it's raining.
I swam ashore, went to my sister's and sought you at your brother's. No word from you at the quarantine station, no word in passage, nor about the fever. When I come ashore, it's to find my sister made homeless. Homeless? Yeah, she's a widow with 2 children, lived in the house 12 years. They're pulling down the cork because of the water supply. The house is next door to Mother Hubbard's where the seaman died. The crew we took out to the Samantha. And the last one, young 20 Morgan, died in my arms, and you know what his fear was? Captain, he says, "You won't put me over live, will you? Like they done on the Samantha?"
Don't you beside yourself, man.
Put him over alive, he said. A dying man speaking the truth. There was murder done on that ship, sir, and you knew of it.
I knew of no murder.
And the fever, if you'd have seen our Morgan died, old black vomiting wretched. Heard his last words, a seaman through and through he was, and now dead. And my sister, no roof over her head.
Mr. Burns, I did not know there was fever aboard her. She'd been so long in passage, I thought it had blown itself out.
Aye, excuses. But the dead don't listen, they can't listen. It's a long way down in the water with ankles shackled for company. Too weak to shout, dying and drowning for the sake of a fast coin. And the fast coin in your pockets, sir, not theirs. There's only lead in there. Who's that in there? It's not Mrs. Onedin.
Better get back on board. You're in breach of quarantine.
She's not got Yellow Jack.
I don't know.
Is it worse than childbirth? If it's worse than childbirth, I ken what it is. Gallstones.
James.
I'm sorry. For all of it. All of it.
Welcome aboard, ma'am. Your cabin's out.
Thank you, Captain Baines.
It's a long haul to food, child, but we'll soon have those roses in your cheeks again.